11th century, the great Seljuk Empire was the most powerful state in the Middle East. In Baghdad, the Abbasid Caliph remained in place, while real political power was held by the Yet, in the rugged mountains of northern Persia, a different movement was beginning to emerge. Soon, the center of this movement would become the fortress of Alamut. Hasan Sabbah was born around the year 1050 in the city of Qam in Persia. From a young age, he showed a strong interest in knowledge and learning. He studied theology, mathematics, and philosophy. He studied theology, mathematics, and philosophy. During his early years, Hasan Sabbah encountered the teachings of the Ismailis. To understand this teaching better, he set out on a journey to Cairo. At that time, Cairo was one of the most important centers of learning under the Fatimid Caliphate. There, Hasan Sabbah met important figures of the Ismaili movement. However, political struggles within the Fatimid court made Hasan Sabbah's position increasingly difficult. As a result, he was forced to leave Cairo. Hasan Sabbah began his journey back toward Persia. His goal was now to establish a new center in the mountains. In 1090, Hasan Sabbah turned his attention toward the fortress of Alamut. The fortress was captured not through battle, but through careful strategy. Alamut had now become Hasan Sabbah's center of power. Soon, this fortress would become the center of a new state. After capturing the fortress of Alamut, Hasan Sabbah began establishing a new order there. This was not merely the control of a fortress, but the beginning of a new political structure. Soon, other mountain fortresses around Alamut joined this growing network. Thus, a new state connected across the mountains began to emerge. Instead of building large armies, Hasan Sabbah formed a small but disciplined force. These men were the Fedayeen, trained with absolute loyalty. The Fedayeen were prepared for precise missions rather than open warfare. This system quickly made Hasan Sabbah's power felt across the region. At this time, the great Seljuk Empire was the dominant political power across Persia and the surrounding regions. One of the most powerful figures of the Seljuk state was the vizier Nizam, al-Mulk. The Seljuk administration viewed Hasan Sabbah's movement as a serious threat. Thus began a long struggle between the Seljuks and Alamut. In 1092, the Seljuk vizier Nizam al-Mulk was attacked during a journey. A fetiye approached the vizier and carried out the assassination. This event caused a major shock across the Islamic world. This assassination demonstrated the power of Alamut across the region. After the assassination of Nizam al-Mulk, the influence of Alamut rapidly expanded. Regional rulers now had to take the power of Alamut seriously. Instead of open warfare, the Fetiyin changed the balance through targeted missions. This method allowed Hasan Sabbah to survive against powerful states with a relatively small force. The fortress of Alamut did not remain alone for long. Soon, important fortresses such as Lammasir joined this network. These fortresses formed a powerful defensive system, connected through communication. Thus, a connected defensive network was established across the mountains. During this period, Crusader states had emerged in the eastern Mediterranean. These new powers began to reshape the political balance of the region. The Nizari Ismailis sometimes fought these states, and sometimes established diplomatic relations with them. The fortresses in Syria became important centers of these interactions. Hasan Sabbah continued his rule from the fortress of Alamut for many years. He maintained a highly disciplined system of governance. He spent most of his life without leaving Alamut. As his life neared its end, the state he had built continued to survive. Hasan Sabbah died in 1124 in the fortress of Alamut. However, his death did not mark the end of the state he created. The Nizari Ismaili state, centered in Alamut, continued to survive. The system established by Hasan Sabbah continued to remain influential for many years. In the 13th century, a new power began advancing into Persia from the east. This power was the Mongol army. The Mongol forces were commanded by Hulagu Khan. And one of their targets would be the fortress of Alamut. In 1256, Mongol armies advanced toward Alamut. The fortress of Alamut, which had resisted for decades, was placed under siege. In the end, the fortress of Alamut fell to the Mongols. Thus, the state founded by Hasan Sabbah came to an end.